The Grand Serenity lived up to its name, a luxury passenger liner that stretched nearly 2 kilometers from bow to stern, its crystalline hull refracting starlight into rainbow cascades. Captain Valthrax of the Arcsil species stood on her command deck, all 6 of her eyes focused on the latest passenger manifest. 17 different species of diplomats, each more demanding than the last. Captain. Her sensor officer's voice cracked with alarm. Emergency alert from Coalition Command. Valthrax's secondary hearts skipped a beat as red warning lights bathed the pristine white bridge in crimson. The message scrolled across her neural interface, and her scales shifted from their normal azure to a pale white. Danger alert. Human vessel DKTCTED in CT2 or 7. Halal Shapeeves at immediate theorises say advice ed. This is not a drill. Full stop. Plot, alternate course, maximum safe distance. Valthrax's orders sent her bridge crew into controlled chaos. The passengers would complain about the delay, but they didn't understand. They hadn't seen what she had seen. Captain, the Centaurian ambassador is demanding an explanation for the course change, her communications officer reported. He's citing Regulation 47B about passenger rights and... Put him through to my private channel. Valthrax interrupted, her scales now showing spots of stress-induced purple, and bring up the incident records from the Wayward Scholar. The ambassador's hologram materialized, his crystalline form vibrating with barely contained anger. Captain, I demand. Ambassador. Valthrax cut in smoothly. Before you continue, I'd like to share something from my early days of space travel. Computer, display Wayward Scholar incident, time index 247A. The hologram split, showing footage from 30 cycles ago. A younger Valthrax stood on the bridge of a research vessel, her scales the bright blue of inexperience. They were observing a neutron star when a small ship appeared on their sensors. That, Valthrax narrated, was my first encounter with a human vessel. The Sydney Carton, a Class 3 research ship. They were studying the same neutron star. We thought nothing of it at the time. The footage continued. The human ship approached the star, its sensors extending. Then something went wrong. Or rather, everything went wrong, in ways that defied the laws of physics. The neutron star hiccuped. There was no other word for it. Space-time folded in on itself 3 times, each fold a different impossible color. A silicon-based life form that had been sleeping in the star for eons woke up and immediately tried to adopt the human ship as its parent. And somehow, in the chaos, the humans solved a mathematical paradox that had stumped galactic scholars for 3 centuries. That, Valthrax pointed with one of her primary appendages, was just one human ship, on a routine mission. The one our sensors just detected is a mining vessel. The ambassador's crystalline surface had lost its angry vibration, replaced by a concerned ripple. Surely you're exaggerating. One incident. Computer, display Coalition incident reports involving human vessels, last cycle only. Categories: spatial anomalies, accidental first contact, paradigm-shifting discoveries, and impossible survivals. The holographic display filled with hundreds of reports. The ambassador's form went completely still, a sign of shock in his species. The humans have a saying, Valthrax continued, her scales returning to their professional blue. Better safe than sorry. It's one of the few sensible things about them. We're changing course not because humans are dangerous in the traditional sense, but because reality itself seems to bend around them. They don't mean to cause trouble, but trouble finds them with unerring accuracy. As if to punctuate her point, the sensor officer called out again. Captain, the human vessel. It's changed course. They're heading toward the forbidden sector. Valthrax's scales rippled with all the colors of resigned experience. Let me guess. Their trajectory will take them directly through the maze of lost ships, past the quantum anomaly fields, and probably right into whatever ancient secret the Coalition has been hiding out there. Yes, Captain. their exact projected course. The ambassador's hologram flickered. How did you know? Valthrax settled into her command chair, already composing her incident report in her head. Because that's what humans do. They don't look for trouble, but they have an uncanny knack for finding exactly the trouble that needs to be found. Now, would you like to remain on our new safe course, or shall I drop you off at the nearest station so you can file a formal complaint about the delay? The ambassador's crystalline form shimmered with decision. I believe, Captain, I'll trust your judgment on this matter. But I would very much like to hear more about these human incidents. Computer, Valthrax commanded, her scales showing a slight tinge of amusement. Begin compilation. Why we avoid human ships. A survivor's guide to maintaining universal constants. Though between you and me, Ambassador, I suspect those constants are about to become very, very variable. In the distance, the human mining vessel Lucky Strike continued its innocent course toward the forbidden sector, its crew completely unaware that they'd just sent half the sector's ships scrambling for safety. Just another Tuesday for a human crew, about to stumble into an adventure that would change the galaxy forever. Zerlna adjusted their observation pod's cloaking field for the third time, tentacles fidgeting with the controls. Their superior had called them crazy for volunteering to study human vessels, but that's exactly why they had to do it. Someone needed to understand why these primitive bipeds caused such panic among the galactic community. The target of their study drifted into view. The mining vessel Lucky Strike. Zerlna's preliminary scan revealed exactly why the ship earned its name. The hull bore scorch marks that could only come from a close encounter with a supernova, yet somehow the metal remained structurally sound. More puzzling were the distinct suction marks along the starboard side, tentacle prints from something far larger than any known cephalopod species. Beginning official observation log, Zerlna dictated. Subject: Human mining vessel Lucky Strike. Crew complement. 4. Initial analysis suggests ship should not be spaceworthy, yet continues to function through means that defy standard engineering principles. The xenologist pulled up the crew files, each one reading more like an adventure novel than a personnel record. Captain Sarah Chen, age 42, Earth years. Notable incidents included negotiating peace with the sentient nebula, surviving 3 ship explosions, cause listed as Tuesday, and successfully navigating the ship through a temporal reef by using old Earth movies as a reference guide. Personal note in her file. Captain Chen displays an uncanny ability to treat the impossible as merely inconvenient. Engineer Rex Lucky Martinez, age 35. The file contained 17 patent applications, all for devices that shouldn't work but did. Most famous invention: an emergency quantum drive repaired using bubble gum and paper clips. When questioned about how it worked, he reportedly shrugged and said, "I just hit it till it stopped making the sad noise." Science officer Dr. Helen Park, doctorate in everything interesting from Earth's MIT. Her research papers were banned in 3 sectors for causing reality to have a headache. Current project: proving that Murphy's Law was actually a fundamental force of the universe, with humans acting as natural amplifiers. Security Chief James Jimmy Okonjo, whose service record included the infamous space whale incident. Stranded in a spacesuit for 3 weeks, he not only survived but established first contact with a previously unknown species of spacefaring cetaceans. His method: I was lonely and started singing whale songs I learned from an old Earth movie. Turns out real space whales love 80s pop music. Zerlna's observations were interrupted by a proximity alert. The Lucky Strike had changed course, heading straight for the forbidden sector. More concerning was the fact that they were about to pass through a classified spatial anomaly, one that didn't officially exist. Computer, open emergency channel to Coalition Command. Unable to comply, the computer responded. All communication channels are being interrupted by. Wait, that can't be right. What is it? The interference pattern matches. Whale songs. Zerlna watched in horror as a massive shape emerged from hyperspace. A space whale, easily the size of a small moon. Instead of attacking, it positioned itself alongside the Lucky Strike, and Zerlna's instruments picked up what could only be described as a duet between the whale's song and was the Take On Me playing from the human vessel's external speakers. Security Chief Okonjo's voice came through the observation pod's monitors. "Hey, Barbara. Long time no see. How are the kids?" The space whale's response resonated through subspace, a complex melody that Zerlna's translator rendered as, "Jimmy. The little ones just learned to phase through dimensions. They're growing up so fast. Are you heading to the Forbidden Sector? Mind if I tag along? I heard there's great plankton there." Zerlna's tentacles tangled in disbelief as they updated their observation log. Day 1 of human vessel study has already violated 13 laws of nature, 2 fundamental constants, and basic common sense. The humans appear to treat these violations as perfectly normal social interactions, beginning to understand why other ships retreat at their approach. The xenologist watched as Captain Chen's voice joined the conversation. "Barbara, good to see you. Actually, we could use your help. Our long-range sensors picked up something weird in the Forbidden Sector, but the readings don't make sense. Any chance you could do that echolocation thing of yours? The thing that accidentally mapped that hidden pocket universe last time?" "That's the one," Zerlna added to their log. "The humans are now casually networking with spacefaring megafauna to investigate anomalies that don't officially exist. They appear to be treating potentially reality-ending phenomena as an opportunity for a social gathering." Through the viewport, Engineer Martinez could be seen setting up what appeared to be a grill on the ship's hull. Dr. Park was taking readings with a device that seemed to be made from a coffee maker and a kaleidoscope. The space whale, Barbara, had positioned herself to provide shade for their impromptu space picnic. Adding personal note to observation log, Zerlna dictated, "I am beginning to suspect that the galaxy's fear of human vessels may be entirely rational." End log. Computer, start new log. Ways humans casually ignore universal constants while making friends. I have a feeling this list will be getting much longer very soon. "You know," Jimmy Okonjo said, taking a bite from his grilled cheese sandwich while floating in zero gravity, "most people would consider having a picnic in the Forbidden Sector to be a bad idea." Dr. Helen Park didn't look up from her modified coffee maker kaleidoscope. Most people haven't discovered 3 new fundamental particles during lunch breaks. Besides, Barbara's echolocation picked up something interesting. The space whale in question emitted a series of melodic pulses that resonated through the Lucky Strike's hull. The ship's computer, which Engineer Martinez had recently upgraded with what he called a vibes translator, converted the whale song into words. "There's definitely something weird about 30,000 kilometers starboard. The gravitational signature is singing? That's not right. It's like space is trying to forget there's something there." Captain Chen, who had seen enough impossible things to categorize them alphabetically, raised an eyebrow. "Singing gravity. That's a new one. Lucky, what do our sensors say?" Martinez tapped his tablet, which was held together with duct tape and optimism. "According to these readings, there's both something and nothing there. Schrödinger would be proud. Also, the sensors are picking up what they swear is a distress signal, but only when they're not looking directly at it." From their cloaked observation pod, Zerlna watched in mounting anxiety as the humans casually discussed phenomena that should have sent any sensible species running for the nearest stable dimension. Their instruments couldn't detect any distress signal, which made the humans' next decision all the more baffling. "Well," Captain Chen said, finishing her coffee, "we should probably check it out. Last time we ignored a weird signal, we accidentally started a religion among energy beings." In our defense, Junie added, "How were we supposed to know they'd interpret our maintenance schedule as sacred texts?" Dr. Park's coffee maker kaleidoscope suddenly emitted a sound like a jazz saxophone having an existential crisis. "Oh, that's fascinating. The quantum fluctuations around that location match the pattern of ancient predecessor technology, but with a twist I've never seen before. Define twist, Chen requested, already knowing she'd probably regret asking. You know how reality usually works. More or less. Well, something over there is making reality work sideways. With jazz hands. Lucky Martinez grinned, pulling out his toolbox. A seemingly endless collection of improvised instruments and jury-rigged solutions. Sounds like fun. I've got some spare parts that might help. Been wanting to test this quantum probability modulator I made from an old karaoke machine. Barbara the space whale chimed in. My third cousin twice removed encountered something similar near the galactic core. He said it tickled his baleen. Captain Chen looked at her crew, each of them showing the particular brand of enthusiasm that made other species nervous. Right then, Jimmy, prep the shuttle. Helen, keep scanning. Lucky, make sure whatever you've built won't accidentally create another dimension. Again, Barbara, would you mind sticking around? We might need a quick exit. Of course. Besides, my pod loves watching humans work. You're better than entertainment channels. As the Lucky Strike's crew prepared for their investigation, Zerlna frantically updated their observation log. The humans are deliberately approaching an anomaly that appears to be breaking multiple laws of physics. Their preparation involves snacks, improvised equipment, and casual banter about previous reality-bending incidents. Most concerning is their complete lack of concern. The shuttle launched from the Lucky Strike, piloted by Jimmy with his typical style. A mix of skill and what he called dramatic flair. Dr. Park's instruments continued their jazz solo, adding what sounded like bongo drums to the mix. Lucky Martinez had strapped his karaoke quantum modulator to his back, humming what he claimed was appropriate mystery-solving music. Captain Chen's voice crackled over the comm. Remember everyone, standard unusual situation protocols apply. If anything tries to eat you, befriend it. If reality starts unraveling, take notes. If we accidentally change the fundamental nature of the universe, try to make it a positive change. And Jimmy. Yes, Captain. No starting religions this time. Not even a small cult. Not even a small cult. Zerlna watched as the shuttle disappeared into the quantum anomaly, their tentacles twisted in knots of scientific frustration. The humans had just violated 67 different safety protocols, 12 laws of physics, and basic common sense, all while making jokes and carrying snacks. The xenologist added a final note to their log, beginning to suspect that the galaxy's fear of human ships stems not from their danger, but from their ability to make the impossible seem mundane. Also, they appear to have excellent taste in sandwiches. The shuttle's interior lights flickered as they passed through the quantum anomaly's outer layer. Dr. Park's coffee maker kaleidoscope was now performing what sounded like an entire jazz quartet. Well, Jimmy said from the pilot's seat, that's new. The controls feel philosophical. Lucky Martinez checked his readings. The quantum probability field is doing something I've never seen before. It's like reality is trying to edit itself out of its own story. They emerged into a pocket of calm space, and there it was, a massive ship, its design unlike anything in known space. Its hull seemed to shift between states of matter, simultaneously solid, liquid, and something else entirely. That's a predecessor vessel, Dr. Park breathed, her instruments now adding a saxophone solo to their jazz performance. But it's not dead like the others we found. It's dreaming. Captain Chen unbuckled her harness. Dreaming? That's not ominous at all. Lucky, what's your karaoke machine say? The engineer consulted his jury-rigged device. According to this, the ship exists in 17 different quantum states simultaneously. Also, it wants to sing, Don't Stop Believin'. But that might be a glitch in the karaoke circuits. Right, Chen nodded, as if this was perfectly normal. Standard exploration protocols. Jimmy, secure our exit route. Lucky, see if you can make friends with the ship's systems. Helen, do your science thing, but try not to accidentally prove we're living in a simulation again. That paperwork was hell. They docked with the derelict vessel, the airlock adapting to their presence in ways that defied engineering principles. As they stepped aboard, Dr. Park licked the nearest wall. Helen, Jimmy exclaimed, what have we said about licking unknown substances? It's for science, she defended. And, interesting, this metal tastes like quantum uncertainty with a hint of paradox. Also meant, Lucky had already opened a panel and was crooning softly to the ship's circuits. Hey there, beautiful. What secrets are you hiding? Don't worry, I speak technological existential crisis. The circuits hummed back in what sounded like Morse code played on a theremin. Captain Chen found herself in what appeared to be the bridge, though it kept rearranging itself when no one was looking directly at it. A holographic interface flickered to life, and she found herself face to face with herself. Quantum ghost, she muttered. Great, this is the third one this month. The quantum ghost, a phenomenon that occurred when probability fields got tangled up in memories, smiled. Actually, I'm the ship's eye. I just appear as whatever makes the observer most comfortable. Though I must say, you're taking this rather well. Let's just say we have a very flexible definition of normal on the Lucky Strike. Meanwhile, Jimmy had discovered a storage room filled with floating orbs that defied gravity in mathematically precise patterns. Naturally, he started juggling them. Hey, these feel weird, like they're juggling me back. Dr. Park's instruments had graduated to full orchestra territory. Those aren't orbs, they're stored quantum states. Jimmy, you're literally juggling possibilities. Cool. Anyone want to see me juggle Tuesday with next week? Lucky's voice crackled over the comm. Captain, you're going to want to see this. The ship's systems just showed me something. Well, it's either a maintenance log or a confession, and either way, it's big. The engineer had managed to interface his karaoke quantum modulator with the ship's database. The results played across holographic displays throughout the vessel, showing images that made Dr. Park's coffee maker kaleidoscope start playing what could only be described as quantum jazz fusion. The predecessors, Lucky explained, they didn't vanish. They were erased, not from space, from probability itself. Someone's been editing reality, removing quantum states that don't fit their preferred narrative. This ship, it's a backup copy of existence. Captain Chen watched as the quantum ghost nodded solemnly. We were archivists, it explained. We saw what was happening, how certain possibilities were being systematically eliminated. So we built this ship, encoded ourselves into quantum states, and hid in the gaps between probabilities. Why? Chen asked, though she suspected she knew the answer. Because someone's been trying to make the universe predictable. They're removing all quantum uncertainty, all chaos, all possibility. And now they're coming for you humans. You're too random, too unpredictable. You make the impossible not just possible, but probable. From their observation pod, Zerl watched as multiple ships suddenly emerged from stealth fields around the predecessor vessel. Their designs were familiar, coalition security forces, but something about them seemed wrong, too perfect, too certain. The xenologist's tentacles trembled as they added to their log. The humans have discovered something that should have remained hidden, solved a mystery by breaking all proper procedures, and are now about to face the consequences. And judging by their expressions, they're actually excited about it. So, Jimmy said, juggling quantum possibilities while coalition security ships surrounded them. On a scale of 1 to reality is breaking. How much trouble are we in? Captain Chen watched as the enemy vessels moved into attack formation with perfect, almost mechanical precision. Let's call it a solid Tuesday afternoon. Lucky, please tell me that karaoke machine of yours can do something useful. The engineer was already rewiring his device, humming Highway to Hell as he worked. Remember that coffee maker you said was too powerful? The one that could strip paint at 20 paces. The one I specifically ordered you not to modify further. Yeah, about that. Lucky grinned. I may have integrated it into the ship's power grid. We now have enough energy to power a small star, all running through what's technically a beverage dispenser. Dr. Park's instruments were now performing what appeared to be quantum jazz interpretations of classic rock songs. The coalition ships, they're not just perfect, they're too perfect. Their quantum states have been collapsed into absolute certainties. No probability, no chaos, no humanity. Human vessel, a voice transmitted from the Lid coalition ship, surrender immediately. Your quantum states will be optimized for maximum efficiency. That doesn't sound ominous at all, Jimmy commented, still juggling. Hey, what happens if I mix next Wednesday with last year's Tuesday? Don't you dare. Chen started, but it was too late. The quantum possibilities Jimmy had been juggling collided, creating a temporal hiccup that caused the coalition ships to briefly exist in every possible position simultaneously. It wasn't much, but it was enough of a distraction for Lucky to implement his absolutely insane escape plan. We're routing power through the coffee maker, he announced proudly. Helen, I need you to calculate an escape trajectory based on that Earth entertainment you showed me. Die Hard or Speed? Both. With a touch of Fast and Furious. Dr. Park's fingers flew over her console, her coffee maker kaleidoscope providing breakthrough calculations in the form of increasingly experimental jazz. Got it. But it's going to require breaking at least 3 laws of physics. Only 3. Chen smiled. We're getting better at this. Jimmy, remember that rave planet where you learned to turn mining lasers into a dubstep light show? Say no more, Captain. Security Chief Okanjo's hands danced across his controls, transforming the ship's industrial mining equipment into a pulse-pounding audio-visual assault that would have made Earth's EDM DJs weep with joy. The coalition ships, their perfect formations disrupted by the chaos of dubstep physics, struggled to maintain target lock. Lucky's coffee-powered quantum drive spun up, sounding suspiciously like the opening riff to Sweet Child O' Mine. Barbara. Chen called out to their space whale ally. We could use a distraction. The massive cetacean, who had been watching the whole thing with the equivalent of eating popcorn, responded with an aria that combined whale song with what seemed to be the greatest hits of the 1980s. The quantum resonance caused several coalition ships to temporarily forget which way was up. Captain, the quantum ghost eye appeared, looking impressed. I've never seen anyone weaponize probability quite like this. We're not weaponizing it, Chen corrected as Lucky's coffee-powered drive reached critical karaoke levels. We're improvising with it. There's a difference. The ship lurched as they executed Dr. Park's physically impossible escape trajectory, reality bending around them like a pretzel doing yoga. The coalition ships fired, their weapons precise and perfectly calibrated, which was exactly their problem. They couldn't hit targets that refused to obey the laws of probability. From their observation pod, Zerlna watched in fascinated horror as the Lucky Strike escaped through a series of maneuvers that their instruments claimed couldn't happen. The humans had turned their ship's basic functions into an interdimensional rave party, complete with soundtrack and light show. Adding to observation log, the xenologist dictated, their tentacles tapping unconsciously to the beat of quantum dubstep. Humans appear to treat the laws of physics less as absolute rules and more as polite suggestions. Their problem-solving methodology seems to be make reality so confused it gives up and lets you do what you want. The Lucky Strike, trailing possibility waves and power chords, shot through space in a manner that could only be described as aggressively improbable. Barbara the space whale followed, her massive form somehow performing barrel rolls while singing Take On Me. New hypothesis, Zerlna added to their log. The galaxy's fear of human ships may be entirely justified, not because humans are dangerous, but because they're capable of turning any situation, even a perfectly orchestrated trap, into what they call a party. The lucky strike emerged from its improbable escape trajectory into a sector of space that, according to all official maps, didn't exist, which, as Jimmy pointed out, made it the perfect place to catch their breath and figure out what they'd stumbled into. "Okay," Captain Chen said, looking at the holographic display where the quantum ghost eye was showing them coalition shipping manifests. "Why exactly are we reading bureaucratic paperwork backwards?" Jimmy, who had suggested this unusual approach, shrugged. "Back on Earth, I used to play heavy metal records backwards to find hidden messages. Figured if someone's hiding something in reality itself, maybe they're using the same principle, hiding it in plain sight by making it too boring to look at." Dr. Park's coffee maker kaleidoscope suddenly shifted from jazz to what could only be described as bureaucratic baroque. "He's right. Look at these routing numbers when you read them in reverse chronological order." The documents swirled in the holographic display, numbers and coordinates rearranging themselves into a pattern that should have been obvious, if anyone had ever been bored enough to look for it. "It's a space station," Lucky whispered, his karaoke quantum modulator humming in harmony with the revelation. "The biggest one I've ever seen. And it's hidden not by technology, but by paperwork," Chen finished. "They've buried it in so many forms, requisitions, and regulatory documents that everyone's brains just skip over it. The perfect camouflage." The quantum ghost nodded, its form shifting between different bureaucratic archetypes. "The order of cosmic constants. They believe that the universe should be predictable, manageable, filed in triplicate, and properly indexed. They've been working for millennia to remove quantum uncertainty from reality itself." "But why?" Jimmy asked, absently juggling standard-issue maintenance reports that kept trying to file themselves. Dr. Park's instruments had begun playing what seemed to be a peer-reviewed symphony. "Because of species like us. Humans don't just deal with chaos. We thrive on it. We take quantum uncertainty and turn it into possibility. Look at our records." She pulled up the Lucky Strike's incident reports, displaying them alongside similar reports from other human vessels. On the surface, they looked like a series of accidents, mishaps, and improbable encounters. But when viewed through her probability-sensitive instruments, a different pattern emerged. "Every time we stumble into something impossible," she explained, "we're actually surfing quantum probability waves. We don't just find trouble. We unconsciously navigate the multiverse to find the exact trouble that needs to be found." Lucky had connected his karaoke machine to the ship's sensors, using it to scan the bureaucratically cloaked station. The station's design. It's like a probability anchor. They're trying to nail down reality itself, remove all uncertainty, make everything run according to plan. "That would explain the coalition ships," Chen mused. "They weren't just perfect. They were quantum-locked. No probability, no uncertainty, no room for improvisation." From their observation pod, Zerl now watched as the humans pieced together a conspiracy that spanned space, time, and filing systems. The xenologists' tentacles moved in patterns of academic excitement as they updated their log. "The humans have discovered a fundamental truth about reality through means that no proper researcher would ever consider. They found a massive conspiracy by being literally too bored to not look for one. Their approach to investigation continues to defy all proper methodology while achieving results that should be impossible." Barbara the space whale, who had been quietly performing quantum scans of her own, chimed in through the comm. "The station's quantum signature. It reminds me of that time Jimmy taught my pod to harmonize with the fabric of space-time. Remember, when we accidentally created that quantum coral reef?" "That's it," Dr. Park exclaimed, her instruments launching into what could only be described as quantum jazz fusion with bureaucratic undertones. "The Order isn't just trying to remove chaos from the universe, they're trying to prevent evolution itself. The kind of evolution that happens when species like humans interact with quantum probability in unexpected ways." Captain Chen watched as more data flowed across their screens, the pattern becoming clearer with each improbable connection they made. "They're not trying to kill us," she realized. They're trying to optimize us, make humanity as predictable as their perfect ships. Well, Jimmy grinned, still juggling reports that were becoming increasingly agitated about being used as entertainment. I'd say they clearly haven't read our history books. Humans don't do predictable. The quantum ghost's form stabilized into something that looked like a mix between a librarian and a quantum physicist. That's exactly why they fear you. Humans don't just create chaos. You create productive chaos. You turn uncertainty into progress. And for beings dedicated to perfect order, we're the ultimate random element, Chen finished. The cosmic equivalent of spilling coffee on their perfectly filed paperwork. Zerlna added a final note to their observation log. The humans appear to have turned their species' most chaotic tendencies into their greatest strength. The galaxy's fear of human vessels suddenly seems less about the danger they pose and more about their ability to turn the fundamental nature of reality into what they call a fun afternoon project. The bureaucratically cloaked space station loomed before them, its perfect geometric forms somehow managing to be both massive and forgettable at the same time. Inside, the Order of Cosmic Constants was about to learn a valuable lesson about the danger of trying to optimize chaos. All right, Captain Chen addressed her crew. We need to shut down their probability anchor and expose their operation to the galaxy. Ideas. Lucky held up his Curio quantum modulator. I've modified this to generate random quantum states. If we can get it to the station's core, we might be able to reintroduce uncertainty into their systems. And I've discovered something interesting about their paperwork, Jimmy added, still juggling administrative forms that had become increasingly distressed about being used as entertainment. These forms don't just describe reality. They help shape it, but they've got a weakness. Dr. Park's coffee maker kaleidoscope was performing what sounded like quantum physics equations set to progressive rock. The human tendency to misfile paperwork. If we can introduce enough clerical errors into their system, we can create quantum uncertainty through bureaucratic chaos. Chen finished, a smile spreading across her face. Lucky, how fast can you build a probability engine from spare parts? The engineer was already pulling equipment from his seemingly endless toolkit. Give me the karaoke machine, that old coffee maker, and about 10 minutes. Jimmy, I'm going to need some of those forms you're juggling. What about me? Barbara the space whale asked through the comm, her massive form casting a shadow over the station's pristine hull. Feel like teaching the station's eyes some Earth music. I thought you'd never ask. I've been working on a quantum harmony version of Never Gonna Give You Up. While the crew prepared their improbable assault, Zerl now watched from their observation pod, tentacles twisted in fascination as they recorded everything. The humans weren't just breaking into a secret station. They were about to hack reality itself using office supplies and pop music. The plan unfolded in stages, each more ridiculous than the last. First, Lucky built what he called a quantum probability engine out of the karaoke machine, 3 coffee makers, and what appeared to be a disco ball. It shouldn't have worked, but as Dr. Park noted, shouldn't was just another word for hasn't met humans yet. Jimmy loaded the quantum-agitated administrative forms into the ship's torpedo tubes. You know, he mused, I bet I'm the first person in history to weaponize paperwork literally instead of figuratively. Dr. Park had reconfigured her instruments to broadcast what she called quantum jazz uncertainty principles, a combination of mathematical formulas and improvisational music that made reality itself tap its foot to the beat. And Captain Chen, she was preparing for the most important part, negotiating with quantum ghosts using nothing but dad jokes and paradoxes. Ready? She asked her crew. Ready. They responded in unison, as Lucky's probability engine began humming the opening notes to Bohemian Rhapsody. They launched their attack, if you could call it that, on the station. Jimmy's weaponized paperwork created clerical errors in the station's reality-defining documents. Lucky's probability engine introduced quantum uncertainty into their perfect systems. Dr. Park's quantum jazz caused probability waves to dance through their corridors. And through it all, Barbara the space whale performed a quantum-harmonized medley of Earth's greatest hits, causing the station's AI to experience what could only be described as an existential crisis set to music. The Order's perfect reality began to crack. Their quantum-locked ships found themselves experiencing possibility again. Their crews, freed from absolute certainty, began to question their orders. And in the station's central control room, Captain Chen faced off against the Order's leaders with the deadliest weapon in her arsenal: human creativity. "Here's the thing about chaos," she told them, as reality rippled around them like a quantum jazz solo. "You can't optimize it without destroying what makes it valuable. Humanity doesn't need to be perfect. We need to be possible." The quantum ghost eye, now fully swayed by the power of Earth music and probability theory, began broadcasting the truth to every corner of the galaxy. The Order's conspiracy, hidden for millennia in perfectly filed paperwork, was exposed not through violence or force, but through humanity's unique talent for productive chaos. From their observation pod, Zerlna watched in awe as the humans dismantled a galaxy-spanning conspiracy using office supplies, music, and what the xenologist could only describe as weaponized randomness. Final observation note: they dictated, their tentacles moving in time to the quantum jazz. The humans have not just survived impossible odds, they have fundamentally changed the nature of reality itself. And they did it all while treating it as, in their words, just another Tuesday. 3 weeks after what became known as the probability revolution, or as Jimmy insisted on calling it, that time we saved reality with karaoke. The Lucky Strike's crew found themselves facing their greatest challenge yet, explaining everything to the Galactic Council. "Let me get this straight," the council chairman said, all 7 of their eye stalks twitching in confusion. "You discovered a millennia-old conspiracy by reading paperwork backwards." While playing quantum jazz, Dr. Park added helpfully, her coffee maker kaleidoscope, now officially recognized as a new form of scientific instrument, provided appropriate background music. "And you defeated their perfect ships by introducing them to the concept of dubstep," Jimmy confirmed. "Turns out, even quantum-locked reality can't maintain certainty when faced with bass drops." Lucky, who had been tinkering with his probability engine, now integrated into the ship's systems and somehow running better than ever, looked up. Don't forget Barbara's contribution. Who knew space whales had such a good grasp of 80s power ballads? The massive cetacean, watching through a quantum-linked viewport, hummed in agreement. Her pod had already started a galaxy-wide trend of quantum-harmonized Earth music, leading to what critics were calling an unprecedented wave of productive improbability in the arts. Captain Chen stood before the council, her incident report in hand. It was the first report in galactic history to include sheet music, quantum probability graphs, and a recipe for what Lucky called his reality-bending coffee. "The truth is," she explained, "the order of cosmic constants made a fundamental mistake. They saw chaos as something to be eliminated, but chaos, properly applied, is what drives innovation, evolution, and progress. Humanity doesn't succeed despite our unpredictability. We succeed because of it." The quantum ghost eye, now officially employed as a cross-dimensional cultural exchange officer, manifested in the chamber. The statistics are quite interesting. Since the integration of human quantum uncertainty principles into galactic society, we've seen a 300% increase in scientific breakthroughs, a 500% rise in cross-species collaboration, and a 1,000% increase in really good parties. Across the galaxy, things were changing. The Coalition's perfect ships had been retrofitted with what Lucky called probability enhancement drives, engines that worked better the less you tried to understand how they worked. Dr. Park's quantum jazz theory had revolutionized both physics and music, leading to the first scientific papers that could be danced to. Even the bureaucracy was different. Jimmy's accidental discovery about the reality-shaping powers of paperwork had led to a new form of administrative system that embraced uncertainty. Forms now included questions like, What color do you think this document wants to be? And, on a scale of 1 to penguin, how would you rate your quantum state today? From their new office at the Galactic Academy of Improbable Sciences, Zerlno was putting the finishing touches on their thesis, Humanity, a case study in productive chaos. Their research had spawned an entirely new field of study, human improbability theory. The fascinating thing, they wrote in their conclusion, is not that humans break the rules of reality, but that reality seems to enjoy working with them to find new rules. They have turned chaos into an art form, uncertainty into a tool, and the impossible into merely improbable. The Council's final ruling was unprecedented. Instead of issuing the traditional warning about human vessels, they released a new advisory. Notai C. Human vessel 8P FOR. Unexpected solutions to problems you didn't know you had. Probability-enhanced innovation. Possible spontaneous dance parties. Reality-optional physics. Really good coffee. Captain Chen read the notice on the Lucky Strike's main screen and smiled. "Well," she said to her crew, "looks like we've changed the galaxy's perception of humanity." "Yeah," Jimmy agreed, juggling quantum possibilities that had become much more cooperative since learning to dance. Now they're not running away from us. They're running towards us to see what impossible thing we'll make possible next. Lucky looked up from his latest invention, a device that used butterfly effect calculations to make perfect toast. "So, where to next, Captain?" Chen's eyes sparkled with the kind of enthusiasm that made other species both nervous and curious. "I heard there's an interesting anomaly in the Carina Nebula. Something about space-time doing loop-de-loops." "Tuesday, then?" Dr. Park asked, her instruments already composing what sounded like an anticipatory quantum symphony. "Tuesday," Chen confirmed. "Barbara, want to come along? Could be fun." The space whale's response resonated through subspace. "Wouldn't miss it. I've been working on a quantum harmony version of Through the Fire and Flames, perfect for loop-de-loops." As the Lucky Strike set course for their next adventure, Zerlne added one final note to their ever-growing research. Perhaps the galaxy's original warning about human vessels was right, but for the wrong reasons. We shouldn't retreat from them. We should follow them. After all, where humans go, the impossible follows. And the impossible, it turns out, is exactly what the universe needed.